The morning light in London has a particular quality, a soft, hazy gold that seems to linger in the rooms of Clarence House. It is 9 a.m, and a silence hangs in the air, broken only by the distant ticking of a clock and the rustle of silk. A silver tray is placed beside the bed bearing buttered eggs, a pot of China tea, and a single slender Turkish cigarette already waiting in its holder. This is the world of Princess Margaret in the 1950s. For the next 2 hours, she will remain here, the most famous girl in England, surrounded by newspapers scattered on the floor like fallen leaves. The headlines speak of her glamour, her style, her nightlife, but in this quiet hour, she is simply a woman waiting. The scent of smoke curls towards the ceiling, a private signal that the performance of the day has not yet begun. She is the sister, the spare, living in a gilded cage of her own inheritance, and already the walls are beginning to feel a little close. To understand the woman in the bed, one must understand the architecture of being second. From the very beginning, her life was defined by a single unchangeable fact. She was not the heir. Her sister Lilibet, as of February 1952, the Queen, was their father's pride, destined for a life of duty etched in constitutional stone. Margaret had been his joy, and joy, it seemed, required less formal schooling. While Lilibet studied history and law, Margaret was taught to sing, to play the piano, to be the sparkling diversion. This dynamic extended to the very vehicles they travelled in. The floor of Margaret's Rolls-Royce was specially raised, a subtle modification to make her appear taller, more significant, when she waved to the crowds. It was a small physical manifestation of a much larger longing, a desire to claim a space that the accident of birth had denied her. She learned to use her voice too, cultivating an imperious tone that could freeze a daisy at 4 feet, as her chauffeur would later say. It was a performance of authority, a suit of armor for a soul that felt increasingly sidelined. This extended to the very language of the palace. There were words one simply did not use. A dress was not made of material, it was made of stuff. It was a linguistic quirk, a small, firm line drawn in the sand between the royal we and the common they. For Margaret, these distinctions became a shield. In a life where so much was decided for her, the insistence on stuff over material was a tiny, defiant act of control. Her escape was found in the arts and the night. While her sister's calendar was filled with meetings with the Prime Minister, daily review of parliamentary documents, bridge openings and state banquets, Margaret's true court was backstage at the theatre. She gravitated towards bohemian circles, to the artists and actors who saw her not as a spare, but as a fascinating, vibrant woman. Nights spent at the Colony Room Club, enveloped in smoke and witty repartee, were a world away from the starchy silence of official receptions. Even her charity work took on a different tone, a genuine personal connection with the causes she championed, a search for purpose beyond the ceremonial. She was building a parallel life, a world where she could be Margaret, not Princess Margaret. And it was this dual existence, this hunger for a life beyond the pale, that set the stage for the man who would come to define her. And then, into this world of performative grandeur and private searching, came Peter Townsend. He was not a duke or a lord, but a group captain, a wartime hero with a quiet maturity that stood in stark contrast to the bright young things of her set. He was an outsider, and in that, he offered a glimpse of a different kind of life. Theirs was a language built in stolen moments, early morning rides through the mist at Windsor, conversations away from the ever-watchful eyes of the court. It was a connection that felt real, unscripted. Yet, the palace walls have a way of bending reality. The Queen Mother, that picture of radiant stoicism, found herself torn. As a mother, she wanted her daughter's happiness. As a guardian of the institution, she saw only constitutional crisis and public scandal. Townsend had been married. He and his wife divorced in 1952. He was a divorced man. The dilemma was laid bare in private letters, where the Queen Mother wrote of the horrid problems and the anguish of having to point them out. Margaret, in turn, would blow up at intervals, her frustration a testament to the immense pressure. The choice was not simply between a man and a title. It was between her own heart and the very foundation of the world she inhabited. The climax came on the 31st of October, 1955. The statement was brief, broadcast over the wireless to a waiting nation. "I have decided not to marry Group Captain Peter Townsend." The words were measured, speaking of the Church's teachings and duty to the Commonwealth. But the silence that fell over Clarence House after the announcement was heavy and profound. The affair that had captivated the world was over. In the aftermath, the relationship between mother and daughter grew more complex, a mixture of sympathy and unspoken reproach. They lived in separate apartments within the same house, often communicating by letter passed by a footman, the ceiling between them feeling as solid as stone. It was after this decision that those 3 small portraits on her bedside table took on their deepest meaning. They were not just mementos of a lost love. They were silent witnesses to her sacrifice, a permanent reminder of the path not taken. And perhaps in response to that loss, she threw herself into her social and artistic pursuits with renewed intensity. The parties seemed to last a little longer, the glamour a little more brilliant, as if she were trying to outrun the quiet echo of her own choice. The arts became her true sanctuary, a realm where she could still be Margaret, where her opinion on a play or a painting mattered more than her place in the line of succession. So she built a life in parallel to the one she had been born to. Her public duties continued, but they were now imbued with a different spirit. Her charity work became more personal, a genuine engagement rather than a ceremonial obligation. The artists and actors of London became her inner circle, her true court. In these spaces, she could set the rules. She could be imperious, certainly, but she could also be funny, insightful, and fiercely loyal. It was a delicate, often precarious balancing act, the irrepressible Princess Margaret the public saw, and the private woman who sought solace in creativity, a world away from the stifling protocols of the palace. And through it all, those 3 portraits remained, a quiet, enduring testament to the love that had defined her and the life of more that she had been forced to relinquish. That choice in 1955 cast a long shadow. She became the princess who stayed, living with the ghost of what might have been. The memory of that sacrifice held in the quiet corner of a bedside table was the price of the crown she never wore but could never quite take off.